Welcome to the Mavens Do It Better podcast. And now, your host, Heather Newman.
Hello, everyone. Here we are again for another episode of the Mavens Do It Better podcast, where we interview extraordinary experts who bring a light to our world. I'm super excited to have on a wonderful gal today, Mary McCarthy, who is the founder and chief empowerment officer at CreateWriteNow. Mary, hello.
Hello, Heather. How you doing?
I am good. Better now that we're on the phone. So it's wonderful. Mary, where are you coming to us today from?
I'm coming from a small town called Green Harbor, Massachusetts, and it's halfway between Boston and Cape Cod.
Awesome. Yay. So, and I today am in my home office here in Marina Del Rey, California. So, yay. So Mary and I have met, kind of online, and she just has this beautiful business and some great methodologies, and I wanted to have her on to talk about them. And so, Mary, will you tell us a little bit about CreateWriteNow?
Yes, CreateWriteNow is home of journaling for the health of it.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity, a place for where health conscious people come to learn and discover how journaling for the health of it can help them heal the issues in their tissues and grow and transform and empower themselves to do whatever they want to do or meant to do, and then go out and take on the world and share all of their talents with the world.
That's amazing. I love it. Wow. That's so much. Will you, I know that, we always have an origin story. Would you share with our listeners a little bit about the origin of the business and the methodologies that you've been creating?
Yes. About 20-some years ago, I had an MS, multiple sclerosis exacerbation, where I lost feeling and function on the right side of my body. And I needed some physical therapy ASAP to teach myself how to write with my left hand.
Wow.
So, long story short, I always goal-oriented. It's like, okay, I need a procedure, because I was a very high-powered businesswoman. Of course, you have to have everything yesterday, and you have to have results instantaneously.
Right.
I universally or serendipitously or whatever, I met up with a woman at a party. She was a hypnotherapist, and I told her about my goal, and she introduced me to Julia Cameron's Artist Way.
Yes.
And in in her book, she has a procedure called Morning Pages.
Yep.
And I got the book and looked it up, and I thought, wow, that would be a very easy way to become left-handed, a good procedure, and very logical and easy to do. So I got into that. Well, I got into that, and it was like, oh my goodness, Edna. It's like, oh my gosh. And I started hearing rhymes. I started writing poetry. I started getting into my childhood, because, we all have childhood, but not a lot of us. It was just very emotionally traumatic, so we don't tend to remember a whole lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was finding with the morning pages, oh my goodness, just writing it down and just writing whatever. So the 3 pages of stream of consciousness first thing every morning. Oh my goodness, I started remembering all kinds of shapes and sizes and things from my childhood. And one of the things I remembered in the process was that I was always left-handed, but the nuns changed me when I was a little girl saying to burn her school. So I was just like, so it's but the purpose for starting the journaling was physical therapy purposes, but it got me into my emotions, my spirituality, the rest of my story, if you will, of Mary McCarthy. And it was like, oh my goodness, I had to keep going, and I then recovered my love for music and always wanting to be a singer, and I pursued that, and now I'm I'm working on my fourth album. So it's really interesting. So I say things happen for a reason, and it's how interesting that once again MS pointed me into an area that I never ever dreamed I would be into. I always thought I was a very ardent career woman, and left brain and all that kind of stuff. But the morning pages and the journaling got me into the rest of my stories. I said before,
yeah.
And it's just like, wow, I'm creative, I'm talented.
Right.
I can write, I can say all these wonderful things, and that was my whole thing. That I have to share this with the world, and just through all my journaling, literally I get universal messages. And one day, journaling for the health of it came up, and thought, isn't that interesting? I've always enjoyed playing with words and having fun with words. Journaling for the health of it, and I thought, well, I need the name for my company, and continue to do more and more and more writing, and then that's when it came up with Create Right Now. So that's how. That's I guess a little bit of a long story of how Create Right Now came into being. So, and it was also interesting because one of my goals had always been that, as I said, I just was running a management consulting firm, so I was traveling all the time. But now I found my house on the beach, another goal, and so I decided that I wanted to run a successful internet company out of my beachfront home, and boom, it all came together through the help of journaling. So I just keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, and it's just like it takes me for where I need to go next, as far as coming up with all the numerous workbooks that I've come up with, and it's really a true empowering tool, self-care tool, ultimate holistic health tool, to help people understand who truly lives in their body, find out who they truly are, and then live the life and create the life that they want to live for themselves.
Yeah. Wow. What an amazing story. And I love and everyone, it's Create Right Now, and it's the word create, but it's WRITE now. So a play on words, which is fabulous, and get going right now. I love that. It's so great. I love your logo. It's so cool. And I know that my mom is left-handed, and I believe she had a similar experience in school with nuns that were trying to change her from being a lefty to right-handed. And that's amazing that you figured that out, in the middle of journaling. But I think that's huge. We don't take the time to sort of go back, and I think that I talk a lot about fear and how a lot of the times we're led by that, and that usually there's one thing back in our childhood, maybe more than one, but that is really sort of the trigger for how we live our lives. And when those things go sort of unlooked at or undealt with, that they can color every relationship and everything that we have. Do you find that people figure those things out when they're working with you on your program? I'm sure that's got to be part of it.
Oh, definitely. That is the intent. As someone said to me, what you're talking about, Mary, is you're journaling for the health of it. It's like, we're not talking about how I spent my summer vacation. We're talking about what really happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far, far away called our childhood.
Right.
And how did we, being the young sponge that we were, we just sucked all that in. We misinterpreted it. It's all our fault and all that type of thing. But now, as consenting adults, we have the opportunity with journaling to go back into understand, not to relive the trauma or the tragedy, but to revisit that from an adult observer perspective and understand, that's what happened. That's where that came from. That's what I thought. Oh my goodness, that's my mother. That's not me. Right. And so that's specifically what journaling for the health of is all about. It is therapy. It is having a loving, kind guide, the pen and the page, to take us into the secrets of our soul, if you will, and all the things that we've been carrying around. Like, that's why I think back to my childhood, and realizing how all those things that we were told to stuff down, and emotions aren't good, and good little Catholic girls do that. All those things that they came with. We're literally carrying them around with us in our subconscious, in our, as I call it, our issues and our tissues. And journaling gives us the opportunity to really do the heavy lifting, the digging, and understand, where is that coming from? Why did that happen? Yeah. Oh, and then being able to say, oh, okay, that was then, this is now. I choose not to carry that. I mean, we can't completely, utterly get rid of it, but it's like, I am now in charge, and I choose not to go in there and keep repeating that, that craziness.
We have deep grooves, I call them deep grooves that, like, they're hard to get out of. It's like that deep groove where you think that you've gotten past something, and then the universe, or whatever you believe in, higher power, it seems to me that something presents itself, and you're like, have you really dealt with it? You know what I mean? Like,
that's it. It's just like, and that's why it's so valuable when you go through that process. It's like, well, it's time to get out the old pen and page.
Yeah.
Start asking some questions and start figuring out, what's going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that it's back, and how are we dealing with it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, excuse me. I give out, I switched, how they call soft skills on your resume, and I recently did a webinar about how I want to call those power skills, and those are things to me that are, it's leadership and creativity, but I spent some time on self-care, self-love, drinking water, being hydrated, getting outside, and and journaling, I think, fits right into that, something as a tool or a practice. This is what I loved reading about, because you have different, what you call power journaling courses, and will you talk a little bit about your different courses that you have? I think that would be cool. Yeah.
They're very practically based. They came out with problems that people have. That's like, oh, how do I deal with it? Okay, one is love your body, and it's all about learning to develop a relationship with your body. I think the whole premise on a lot of the workbooks. Another one is take control of your health. Another one is heal your life. Another one is money management. I think that they're really practical. The issues that we have to deal with in life, we just don't know how to deal with them. And one of the biggest issues is us, because we're just so externally focused on saving the world, taking care of the family, the whole laundry list. This is all about going inside, turning the focus internally, and these are tools to help you deal with issues such as, how do you learn to love your body? How do you set goals? How do you empower yourself? Those types of things that we certainly never were taught how to do, or even we never even entered the conversation really growing up. It's just like, study for your test, get a good degree, and all that those type of things. But it's not about to the extent that those of us who were in a very strict religious background. It's like it's sacrilegious to even talk about yourself. Right. It's like your job is to save the rest of the world.
Right.
So I'm just I create workbooks for issues that the people have to deal with it in life, and one of them is another one I just came out with earlier this year on Valentine's Day. Detox your relationships.
Wow.
Because we're so focused on other people. What will other people say? What will other people do? And I'm supposed to take care all those types of things. So we just really realized that, people, even family members, can be detrimental to your health.
Right.
It's all about, the whole thing. That's why I call myself the Chief Empowerment Officer. It is truly doing the heavy lifting and the digging and dealing with the issues in your tissues. But it's basically, once you uncover the diamond that's been there all the time, it's like going forward and using it to just share your light with the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, even looking through Mary's courses, it's, there's self-healing, self-improvement, courses for writers, self-growth. And I love it. I mean, you have, I think you're at, 300 in journaling prompts alone. I think you're at, 378 journaling prompts that you just put on your website, for people to help them in that way. And then I love it that, her books and her workbooks, they're at a great price point as well. You know what I mean? Like, we spend, $30 or $25 without blinking, on a meal that might not even be good for us, So, I love that, your title, the Chief Empowerment, and that there's and that you're specific too. I mean, I think, the Artist Way is wonderful. I've gone through that myself, and that's been around for such a long time, and it's so inspiring. But what I love about what you're doing is really getting into, kind of like what you're saying, love your body. I mean, the world does not teach us that, for sure, right? Bombarded by all these images of all kinds of things, and so what Mary has here is just that I love your I can't even say it, specificity in, different aspects of loving your body, or easing transitions, or care for the caregiver. I mean, that one, wow, that so many people don't realize that the caregiver it's a hard place to be. Where did that one come from?
I say it came from my experience. I broke a couple bones in my foot a couple years ago, and I had I was really I needed 24/7 nursing assistance in the process, and the nurses, when I just saw all these wonderful women, they were fantastic, and they took really good care of me and all that type of thing. But the running thing was that they were taking care of everybody in the world but themselves. So it's like they were great, wonderful nurses and caregivers, but they weren't giving any care to themselves. So that's what was the impetus for that one.
Oh, I love it! Wow, that's amazing. And so, will you talk a little bit about the recording, your fourth album? That's so inspiring. I was a theater major and sang all through my life and all of that. It's a part of my life that I scratch the surface on sometimes. I mean, I use it every day, right? If you're an artistic person, and I think everybody's artistic and creative in everything they do, but talk about getting back into that and what that was like. That's so cool.
Well, it was very funny, and it was the morning pages got me into remembering my childhood, that I always enjoyed music. My mother not trained me, but introduced me to the Great American Songbook, because in her generation, that's what their Saturday nights were, going out dancing and singing and goofing off. So that was the influence. And my father introduced me to classical music, and I can remember that they was one of the presents growing up. Got the family piano, and it's like I was really excited to take piano lessons.
Right.
So I went to school, and there was a tryout, I think around fourth grade, for the choral group, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be a real singer and join the choral group. Well, they didn't want me because they told me I was tone deaf and I sang off key. So I just really shut the door on that and just thought, okay, so I'm not good enough.
Right.
And just carried with me all these years, Heather. As I said, thank goodness for journaling, because in the morning pages, like, oh my goodness, it's like, wait a minute, that was them. That wasn't me. It's just like, of course, when you don't have everything to go on stage at the Metropolitan Opera instantaneously, but it's like, wait a minute, that's their job. They're supposed to be teachers. They're supposed to help us. So you got all these wonderful insights and understandings by doing the journaling. It's like, oh, I get it. So I thought, well, so again, my goal was to take singing lessons and become a real singer. And less than a month passed by, and in my local newspaper there was a story about this 30th anniversary of the Kingston School of Music, which is a couple of towns away, that catered to students of all ages. That's where I went, and I started taking lessons probably about 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, oh, and my first time being on stage, Heather, I thought, oh my goodness, it's like this is where it's at for me. So it's just and I just pursued that, and I'm been working for the last probably 5 or 6 years with a gentleman who runs the New York vocal coaching, and he's all about he calls singers vocal athletes.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's all about using your body the way it was supposed to get your voice out. And it's just, unstressing yourself, and certainly the breathing and all that, but it's really just helping you retrain your muscle memory.
Right.
And so I'm very pleased to say that I can sing from my filter voice, from my head voice, from my whistle voice. So it's like you said earlier, we all have talent, artistic, creative talents in us. It's just a question. We just need to work with a teacher and practice, work, and get to all the good stuff that's already there inside of us. So and so I just, kept going, and I connected with a guy. We've been working together about 10 years or so now. He has his own recording studio, so I've been doing recording with that with him, and now I'm embarking on my first album that I'm writing the songs myself.
Wow.
So it's like I'm finally combining my love of writing with my love of music, and the working title is Practically Romantic.
I love it. Practically, that has so many wonderful meanings, I think. Mm-hmm. That's so great. So for the most part, from the beginning, you've been writing the lyrics yourself and then working with other musicians. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. And now you're not only writing the lyrics, but you're also writing music along with it.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Wow.
Well, certainly still a lot of adult supervision needed, but I think I believe it's because of my work with Justin, my voice teacher. I just really feel this, like, there's so much inside of us, and it's like there are things that, and I'm now really hearing the notes that were there. It's just a fantastic opportunity. Just like, the notes, the music, the feelings are there, and it's like, so I can, I'm just really just letting it rip, Heather, and letting it go, and it's like, there still needs some help, but it's more of a 50-50 or less situation, as opposed to my musical collaborators having to do all the music. I just
that's wonderful.
It's just really cool.
I let her rip. That's awesome. I think that's something my mom says too. Let her rip, or what's the other one? It's just if it's not now, when,
Right. My favorite is from the guys at Nike. Just do it.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I tell people, because you talked earlier about fear, and that's the biggest thing. That's why people don't get into journaling, or they say that they're too busy or this and that. But no, it's we're just carrying around so much fear, and the way you do that is like you just get the pad, get the paper, you write a question, and then you sit down and you just write from your heart. And this is something that's new and exciting, but just.
And don't you find that it's amazing with journaling? This is something I found with a writing coach that I worked with for a long time, Rachel Resnick, was that you don't realize how much you can actually write in a very short amount of time. If you set a timer for like 5 minutes and write a question and write, you'll be amazed at the amount of pages you get. Do you find that people are surprised at how much they can kind of output through when they're using your journaling in your books and your courses?
Yes, it completely blows them away. So it's like, oh God, I said that I was having a problem, something I was needed to deal with, and it's just like 15 pages later or whatever. They said, and then they said, you're right, Mary. If you just let her rip and just let it go, just deal with how you feel, not censoring yourself and judgment and listening to the crazy inner critic and all that kind of stuff. Just do it. Just take a leap. Just do something different. Just go for it. Just think of how you were as a child when you saw that big slide. Just ran up the top of it and you got down on the slide. So it's just like so you're right. It's just like, once you get into it, and it does not have to be X number of words or whatever. It's wherever you are at that point in time. So just go for it and see where it takes you.
Yeah. Do you find also that I really believe in the power of pen to paper? We're such a digital society, and I do a lot of writing. OneNote's my favorite. I'm a Microsoft geek, and OneNote's been my friend for a long time. But there is something different about, I think, taking a pen to paper. And do you find that with your clients as well in your courses? That's a recommendation that you give them of that pen to paper contact?
Oh no, it's a rule.
It is the rule.
Journaling for the health of it is pen to page every day. End of conversation.
Okay. So you're a believer, yes. Well, and that's what you teach, obviously. Yeah, I do. I really do. I think there's something different about it, right? There's a detachment that comes with technology, and then just the ability to go back and read it. I mean, I'm staring here at my bookshelf, and one of the bookshelves is all just journals.
Wow, great.
Yeah, and I don't do it enough. I don't do it every day. I will admit it. It's something that I need to put back into my own practice. But I do. I'm glad to hear that, because I think that's really important. That there's that pen to paper, pen to page, that just it's a different connection, for sure.
And again, I think that's what I found when I got into the morning pages and started journaling. It's like, oh my goodness, this is spiritual, this is emotional, this is this is me. So I was like, and I am a process, and it's like you said. So I was like, and it was interesting. Early on, I had the experience before I knew with anything about inner critics and things like that. I guess I got scared, and so I went back to keeping it on my computer, and I thought, this is nowhere.
Yep.
Again, when you've been with the best, you can't settle for the rest. So I got myself. I thought, okay, I have to face my fears. That I don't know what's in there. It's scaring the living daylights out of me. But I have to get back to it, because I just see all the results personally from doing it. So it's like, So I don't. It doesn't even enter the conversation. So I just tell people when they talk about journaling for the health of it, it's like pen to page every day. But the good news is there's only one real right way to journal, and that's your way. So if you want to do it in the morning, if you want to do it at the beach, if you want to do it before you go to bed, whatever. If you want to just do whatever.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's awesome. So, usually the last question I ask folks, and you've shared a lot of this potentially already, but I'm very interested in moments and sparks that move us or change us or bring us to who we are today. And can you maybe share one of those with our listeners? And I know you've shared a lot of your origin story, but is there something or someone or a moment that stands out that you're like, you know what? Yes, this is the one.
It was the afternoon of July 19th, 1991, when I was diagnosed with MS.
Yeah.
And the doctor assured me that, and showed me my MRI, there was not an inoperable brain tumor. It was only MS. So I thought, it's only MS. I can deal with it. It's time that, so now that my beautiful beachfront home that I bought, it's time for me to get off the road and change gears and find out the rest of the Mary McCarthy story. So I would always say that my inspiration, my gift, my thank you would always go to my MS diagnosis. Thank you, MS.
Wow. That's amazing. And it does. The life gives us things sometimes that, those moments of dealing with health or dealing with, trauma and all of that really do move us to a different plane, to a different chapter, if you will, to keep with the book analogy. So thank you for that. And I know folks can find you at CreateWriteNow.com, and that's where Mary's wonderful courses are, her blog, and she's got guests blogging on there as well. Mary, what a joy to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for what you do in the world. It's absolutely wonderful. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity, Heather. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mary. Everyone,
bye.
Bye-bye, and thank you. That has been another wonderful episode, I think, of the Mavens Do It Better podcast. You can find us on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Spotify, on Google Play, and all those places where you listen to podcasts. We love 5-star ratings if you happen to give one. And here is to another beautiful day on this big blue spinning sphere. Thanks, everyone. The original music on this podcast was created by Jesse Case.